Hey y'all, welcome to an all new season of J to G. This time it's just that girl and some guy. I'm one half of your co-host Terica, and this is my guy Rashad. Oh, silly, I promise you. But we are back, all new season, made a few changes with the same great content. We're gonna still be giving you guys those deep dives on some of your favorite artists. We're going to be doing some deconstruction, talking about the albums, the songs, the tours, and much more. We're also going to be doing top five. So we have different top fives that we do, but we'll do them here and there. And also new music. We will discuss it here and there. So before we go any further though, make sure you like, share, subscribe, tell a friend, tell a friend, tell a friend, and promise you will not be disappointed that you did. So anyways, what better way to bring back season 2 than to talk about the one, the only Damita Jo, Janet Damita Jo Jackson.
Right.
What way? I mean, we're talking about
the queen, the blueprint, the whatever you want to call it.
Right. Mother. Queen, from the dance influence to the vocal influence to the style overall, she is probably, from the last 30 years, one of the most influential artists in the world. She is the blueprint, as you stated, for so many artists. So we're gonna
for a lot of them.
For a lot of Queen Mother. You could never.
All of them are her sons.
Right. Words to Nikki. All of them are her sons, seriously. So before we jump into Janet, just want to kind of run down this quick list of accolades or stats for her. We're talking 11 albums, 4 TV shows, 5 movies, 9 tours, 1 residency, 1 book. She has sold over 26 million albums. She has grossed, it's estimated at over 193 million in movies. And let me just say this, Homegirl is 54, but she's been in this entertainment industry since she was 47.
Wait, you mean for 47 years?
47 years, sorry.
47
yeah. So she was 7 when she started.
Yeah, so that's basically the majority of her life.
Name somebody else.
Yeah.
They could never. But she has dedicated her life to what is entertainment, what is music, and we are so appreciative to her because we would not have so many things without Janet Damita Jo Jackson. And so we want to just jump right in and start talking about our girl. So
as a disclaimer, we're not going to be able to deep dive into each album, which we will have to do some of her albums in other episodes, like a deep dive into one particular album at a time. But this is going to be kind of more so like overview, deep dive kind of thing.
Absolutely. Thank you for the disclaimer. Thank you. So as we mentioned, she's been in the business 47 years. Let's start, 1976. For those that do not know, the family has a TV show. She makes her first appearance on that show. This is the first time we see little Janet. Everybody remembers that iconic clip of her with the boa coming out with a cute little pink outfit. And so that's our first glimpse of her. And then we fast forward to 1982, and she basically has her first album, self-entitled Janet Jackson, right? And then following that, in 1984, she has Dream Street, which is her second album. And so for those two, she's finding herself, right? She's managed by her dad. I do know the first one, if you listen to it, it's typical. Both of the albums, first of all, are typical of the time. Of the time. The first one, she's working with Angela and Renee on there. They do some songs. The second one is very what you consider bubblegum pop. So she's finding herself, right?
Right. She's just kind of going with the flow. She's like, just kind of like, oh, okay, like I'm doing this music thing. Like it's kind of expected of me. Like that's the feeling I get when I hear like her retrospectively talk about it and stuff like that. So it's kind of like that feeling like, everybody else in the family is doing it. Like I just go on, but she's not really having any input in anything.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, and during this time, let's not forget she does a little bit of acting at this time. We have Fame, We also have Good Times as
Good
well.
times.
She's on there. It's Penny as a child, so that's before, but she has Fame, and so she's still doing some acting there, but we don't really know her. We still in the midst of all that, we don't really know her, right? So we fast forward to 1986, and we get to Control, and so ironic that we are right off the heels of the 35-year anniversary of this album. We celebrated last month, but she drops this album and things were never the same.
Never the same for music.
Period.
Or for her. Yeah.
Oh, no.
I mean, this is her seminal breakthrough album that a lot of people consider like her debut, basically. You know, this is her coming out, coming of age. This is her taking control, no pun intended, over her over her life and over her music, and her making it right. And basically her making a statement, no one had ever heard a Black woman over hard-hitting beats like this.
No.
A lot of the pop music at that time, and I say pop in quotes because pop is, which is a whole other conversation we'll have one day, but pop is not an actual sound, but at that time, the people who were considered pop, like your Madonna and Whitney Houston, who were all kind of going along at the time, and others, it was more like lush balladry and slow and sweet and simple and kind of soft and things like that. And Janet, I mean, but they bust through the doors with like these hard-hitting industrial beats, a hard bottom and a pretty top. So basically, like, it's real funky, it's real hard, it's dance and stuff like that. But on top is the beautiful melodies and vocals and things like that. So it was a mix nobody had heard, and it really changed the scope of R&B and pop moving forward.
Absolutely. And before we run down the list of singles from that album, we have to reference Jam and Lewis, Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, out of Minnesota. For those that don't know, they did a lot of work with Morris Day and the Times, very influenced by Prince. So they had a lot of different inspirations.
Yeah.
Especially I watched interviews with Jam, and he's talked about like his influence goes from everything to rock to R&B. Like, he's just very vast. And they bring it to this album, and it was like a musical match made in heaven marriage, like the three of them getting together.
Yeah, I mean, the stars really align with like that partnership. Like, it's like they found something with that, and they did not let it go.
Absolutely. At all. So running down the list of singles, we have What Have You Done For Me Lately, Nasty, When I Think of You, Control, Let's Wait a While, The Pleasure Principle, and Funny How Time Flies, which is one of my favorites.
And that's like the majority of the album. Like, I think there's only 2 songs that you didn't name, and I all those other ones were singles, and they were all hits.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And they struck a great balance of giving you like the soft and the hard and you have When I Think of You is very light and it's pretty and it's fun and stuff like that. But then you got Control that comes in and like that's hard, and and then you got Funny How Time Flies, which is a little bit slower and a little bit more sensual. We're not getting the Janet as we know today sensual yet, but that's like a little precursor.
Absolutely. And I think one of the things I want to highlight is that she starts this, like, it becomes a part of her career where, I'm going to give you the dance, I'm going to give you these awesome beats, but there's a message, there's substance, there's always some type of message. And then also we talk about how her albums always tell this kind of story, the way the songs are placed within the album. You'll start to see that be a theme throughout her career.
Yeah, you'll start to see, I mean, everything is very intentional with her. Like, you'll start to see, I mean, you see it already kind of from the beginning, but like the way they even sequence the album, like you said, the placements of the songs in the order, like all her albums ride like a journey. They really do ride like a story. And yeah, I mean, it's pretty amazing.
Absolutely. And I think you reference this all the time. This is definitely the coming of age story album. And then we know, and I've said this before, we've seen it with Michael, but it was like when once Control dropped, this became the blueprint for every other young artist after. Like, we've seen it with so many, whether it's Sierra or Beyonce or Usher. Like, I gotta have that coming of age.
Right, story. I'm making a statement. Like, Christina, Britney, all of them. Like, I'm making a statement. I'm coming into my own. This is what I want to do. You know, I'm shaving off everything that everybody put on me. Like I'm not. This is what they put on me before. It's not me as an artist. This is what I really want to do.
Absolutely.
So yeah, and it's like you said before, she always has substance and a message. And I always say like it's like the medicine and applesauce thing, or like a Trojan horse.
Good reference.
Like right, like it's like we give you what you want. We got the sweetness and everything, but like in there is a message that you might not realize first off, but then as you continue to listen to stuff, you're like, oh, they're really talking about something.
Mm-hmm. And I think you said this before. Mm-hmm. We saw feminism. It was talked about, but when she comes in with this album, it's in your face.
Yeah,
your face for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like that whole feminism thing, like everybody talks about now, like with artists and music, like it, I mean, I feel like this was kind of the start of that with like mainstream, like, you know, artists like women. And you have to give credit to Madonna at the same time because they were running along the same kind of thing at the same time. Mm-hmm. But Janet was just a little bit different because she got that edge, you know.
Edge.
So and Madonna's more of a shock thing.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and Janet's more of like the other, like it's like she got something to say and it's edgy, but it's not too much, you know.
But I think inappropriate at times. It wasn't inappropriate at times during that time, and then we have during to know, that time. Yeah, during that time, and I think we also want to know that the impact of. Before we have to do this because we shouted out Jam and Lewis, but we also have to shout out Paula Abdul, who comes on, and as you like to say, she brings these songs to life.
Yeah, she helps bring these songs to life in the videos.
Absolutely, and she. Oh, go ahead.
No,
sorry.
Go ahead.
You got it.
And I was just gonna say, and you'll see over time how Janet's performing and dancing evolves. But it's funny looking at the videos now. The start of her doing that was more like the style was like Broadway theater, jazz. That was kind of the feel, and like her videos were very like theatrical and big. And they kind of say like of course Michael kind of started that. Michael started the whole thing of like the videos kind of being just as important, like used as promotional pieces for the songs. Right. But I think Janet kind of evolved it to I forgot where I was going with it. But Janet kind of evolved it like where she kind of more made like more ensemble pieces. Like she's the focal point, Michael's the focal point, but Michael can do a lot alone and would do a lot of things kind of alone. And Janet's was more kind of like a group piece. Absolutely. And just as what Michael did for Black people getting on MTV, Janet kind of evolved it for all the different types of music and dance-driven artists because their videos became very popular and people really wanted to see them. And it kind of evolved how everyone else did their videos as well, just like Michael did before her. So yeah.
When I think about that, it's crazy because when you think about the way that she did her videos, and the way that Michael did them, they started that trend of like it was a full-on production, like you said. It was not just, you know, we're gonna sing the lyrics to the song. It was a full-on theatrical production. So shout out to Paula Abdul who helps with that, brings that to life. What an amazing! We're gonna consider this our first real album,
right? A lot of people consider her debut. I consider her debut. I don't really, you know, I mean, it's just like, to me, it's where it starts.
Absolutely. So we got Control, right?
Wait. What's like your favorite 3 off the album?
I've already told you. Funny How Time Flies is, I can listen to this song 1,000,000 times in one day. That is my jam. Yeah. I would have to say, because that's Let's Wait a While, of course. And then I think my last one, if I had to pick, I'm gonna go with Nasty.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I love like the majority of all those songs, right? But I would say like a few of my favorites would be like When I Think of You. It's one of my favorites. Yeah. Pleasure Principle. Love Pleasure Principle. And I would say Funny How Time Flies. I love, what's interesting is I love to hear Control What Have You Done For Me and Nasty, I like those better live or
Oh
whatever.
yeah.
Like when she does them live, like because
Yeah.
they I don't know, some they do to the arrangements, they get more into it and stuff. But though I would say those are kind of my three. And I also want to say, like, I mean, even from this album, you can see the influence in the hip hop production. Even like as recent as like 5 years ago, like DJ Mustard and knows like the do 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 like them type of like all that is from Jam and Lewis during that time. Like if you listen to those records, you hear all that on the bass, the do 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 like all that stuff. So
yeah, absolutely, you do hear that. And I think we said this, but I just want to make sure for those that don't know, like those earlier albums, she's managed by her dad. She gets this album, she's no longer managed by him. So this is really full control of her career, her vision, and she makes a statement. And so we move on. We fast forward to 1989, which is crazy even saying that.
Right, the year we were born.
Right, it's crazy saying that. Sis is on album number 4, and we ain't even here yet. Right. But we get to album number 4. We get to Rhythm Nation.
Rhythm Nation.
I mean, I remember all of that. So,
right,
Rhythm Nation. When we think of this album, we think about this is when she really gets. We just said this becomes a theme where there's substance in her music, but she really is intentional about being socially conscious on this album.
Right. And this is what solidifies her as a superstar, I think. Like this out, like, you know, Control is like, yes, like she's a star, she's great, but like, I mean, how do you follow that up? Like that had to be immense pressure to follow Control, because from what I've read, they wanted her to do a Control too. Like they basically wanted like the same thing because it was so successful. But yeah, she was like, no, I want to talk about something else. And this is what I want to do. And yeah, she chose the whole social aspect with themes of like romance and love as well thrown in there. But like you said, really wanted to talk about something. And that was unheard of for a mainstream pop artist at the time. Yeah. I mean, I think the only, what some people like to kind of compare it to is like Marvin Gaye, What's Going On, and those type of albums. Yeah.
Yeah. And we see, and like you said, her activism really starts with this album. People are calling on her to do various things because she's voicing opinions about a lot of things that artists were choosing to kind of shy away from at that time. They weren't speaking about.
Yeah. You have themes of like, she talks about racism, poverty, drugs, children, like prison. Like, I mean, there's a lot of stuff she talks about in there, and all while you're dancing. Like, all while it's like, right. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like you could play it, it's played in the clubs and stuff like that, and you're really jamming to it, but it's like a real message in there. And it's never like preachy, it's never like hitting you over the head with it. It's, you know, it's just like her doing her basically.
Absolutely. And so just want to kind of mention with this album, it's the only album in history to produce #1 hits in 3 separate calendar years, and only album to have 7 top 5 singles on the Hot 100. That's crazy.
That's crazy.
From one album.
You can barely get 3 singles from an album now.
Right. So just note some of those singles. You have Miss You Much, you have Rhythm Nation, Escapade, All Right, Come Back to Me, Black Cat, Love Will Never Do, State of the World. Wow.
Yeah. Crazy. And the whole thing is a concept album. Yes. You know, and again, and the way it's sequenced with the interludes and everything. And it's like the first half is set on the social political issues. And then you get to that point where she's like, get the point? Good, let's dance. And then it goes into more of the other things she's talking about, like love and relationships and things like that. But then it goes back and it brings you right back into it. Like they kind of segue you back into the social political issues and things like that. So it's a great album the way it's put together. It really is.
You know what it makes me think of? It's like, it's the story of life. Like while you are growing and falling in love and things are happening, the world is still happening and things are still happening. And while you have these moments of highs in your life, don't forget that life is still happening outside of you. Like it really, when I listen to it, that's what it makes me think of and makes me feel.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah,
That's a
it
great
makes
way to
me
put
feel
it.
that way. Absolutely. So we talked about singles. Give me your top two off the album. Or top three.
Hmm. Come Back to Me is one of my favorites, and I love like the harmonies and the layering in that one is crazy. Um, Miss You Much because you can just jam to that one. I really like that one a lot. And Black Cat because one, it's an awesome song. Two, that's the first time we get the rock Janet, and it's like legitimate rock. Like it's not like some pop artist doing a song with like some rock sounding production. Like it's literally like put together like a real rock song. Her vocals over it, her vocal timbre has changed. It's rough, it's loud, it's very edgy sounding. And I just love that because it started to show even more sides of her artistry and what she could do. Because a lot of people kind of placed her in a box with her vocals, and we can talk about that a little later. But yeah, I would say those three. What about you?
For me, it's gonna be number one. It's gonna be Love Will Never Do.
Dang it! I'm sorry. That's one of my favorites too.
And I'm surprised you didn't name it, but we talk about that all the time.
I know.
Background story. We talk about how like that lower register part was supposed to be for a male vocalist. She goes in there, she kills it.
Yeah.
So I do love that, and it just feels so good. It reminds me of early '90s and that vibe there. And then I think I will go with Escapade. I'm gonna go with Escapade, and then Miss You Much.
Okay.
Yeah,
nice.
I'm gonna go with those. Those are my three.
I mean, all of them are great. It's really hard to choose when it's like almost every song is like amazing.
Yeah.
You know, and we have to talk about the visuals and the style at that time, right? I mean, the black militant kind of look. You know, she's covered, and also we have to say she's been covered up all the way to this point, right?
Say it again.
Like
she's been what?
What'd you say?
Say it again.
She's been covered up.
Covered up.
She's been covered up. Covered up. Right. She's been covered up. Yeah, she I mean that says something, you know what I'm saying? Because like you know how like time, as time has moved on with music and people like, oh, they gotta show skin and blah blah. But like she really like became like huge, being all the way up to the neck. Yep. Like never showing something until the very last single of Rhythm Nation, which was the Love Will Never Do, which like shocked everybody. And all she did was like show a little skin.
She had a little belly button show, and they went crazy.
Right. But like, it was even then a lot of that stuff, like they would call her a style icon. Like a lot of people were dressing up like her with that militant look, the earring and the key. What else? The short film music video, the black and white aesthetic with Rhythm Nation, which was kind of like the first of its kind of doing like a short film with. No, well, Michael did the short films, right? But the first one where it's kind of like it's multiple songs and it's all a story. And
we see that influence later on in a couple of artists' career. We're not gonna say who, but we see that happen. But go ahead, proceed.
Right. No. I mean, it's a with this album, it's a lot of things because this was even bigger than Control.
Absolutely.
You know, way bigger. I mean,
and you say that I'm gonna let you finish, but saying this, it was so much so bigger. She wins her first Grammy for this album. And then she also headlines her first tour with this album.
Right.
And it's noted as to be one of the most successful debut tours in history. So
yeah, I don't think anybody's surpassed it yet as far as like a debut tour. Like, I mean, it was going crazy. I mean, it was the first like big, well, I don't want to say first big pop extravaganza, but she definitely kind of evolved the concert experience from what I was reading. With the pyrotechnics and the dancing and the recreating the videos live on stage, you know, and I don't know, it's just crazy. It's a lot of stuff with this album. Like it's crazy because it broke a lot of records, and like you said, she had the singles over 3 years. Like the last person that rolled an album like that, I think, was Bruno Mars with the 24K. He kind of rolled it for like 2 or 3 years, but that doesn't happen a lot anymore. And I actually miss that. I actually miss like working albums for like for a little while. But all her videos, you had the short film, and then you had like the All Right, which was like real like Broadway-ish with the big set pieces and things like that. And then you had, you just had a lot of different things. And she was nominated for the first woman, I think, to be nominated for Producer of the Year.
She was
because she actually co-wrote, like she took even more of a hand in this album with co-writing and co-producing.
absolutely.
And yeah, it was just crazy. It's just a big smash.
Absolutely. And again, I mean, that influence of writing your albums out, letting your fan base really sit with the album. You'll see it with various pop stars in the 90s. Like, you didn't get these singles back to back in the 90s. What you get is
right.
drop an album, and you're gonna really sit with these albums. They let you sit with it. So that was a trend for her that she started. So wow, so much with that album. And also we have to know that at that point she gets her star on the Walk of Fame as well. At the end of that album, she gets that star. So I mean, at that point, Janet is here and she is here to stay.
Janet,
She's here to stay. And you almost, I want to say at this point, you are forgetting that she is the baby of the world-renowned famous Jackson family, and she's the kid sister to Michael Jackson. She has blazed her own trail at this point.
And we also have to, real quick, we have to shout out, I can't, everybody's is slipping my mind, but like the choreographers and the directors that brought all that stuff to life, because Jen is just as important as her music is to her artistry. Her visuals are just as important component to her artistry. And like people like Anthony Thomas, who did the rhythm. I mean, that Rhythm Nation is still
iconic,
performed today. Like the choreography, like everybody still tries to learn the choreography, the angular, the militant. It inspired Michael Jackson's Dangerous album, like the sounds and things that they did from that album, and the militant stuff, and people like Barry Lather, and they're all escaping my mind. But all those choreographers and creative directors that helped bring that stuff to life, because that was a part of why it was so large as well.
Absolutely. So this.
Real quick, I'm so sorry. I gotta add too. Like it was at this point that she was connected to the youth. Is from what I was. It was a big thing with the youth, this album, because she made that Rhythm Nation like a call to arms, and it was like people wanted to be a part of the Rhythm Nation, and she brought more of the street dance style to a lot of her stuff as well. So it was very like. It was what I'm hearing and reading from people was kind of like she kind of moved away from the big Hollywood-esque kind of like choreography and stuff, and went more like street, more kind of meshed it together and things like that, and it kind of gave her more cred in that sense. But yeah,
well, it makes sense, right? Like she is talking about these very heavy things. In order to change those things, she needed to connect with the people that could make that change, which is the youth of that time. So it made sense. I can remember absolutely, like you said, the influence of the earring with the key on there, and how she was dressed, slick back ponytail. That was a big thing during that time. So I mean, if you didn't think she was here to stay, because there was a lot of critics that still at that point they were like, she's only big because
who her brother is, and they were still on that at this point.
Absolutely. So she takes a bit of a break, slight break, because 1990 you end with Love Will Never Do. She takes a slight break, and then if you thought they couldn't do anything else,
right?
If you thought that there was a sky and there was a limit to what Janet, Jimmy Jam, Terry, Jelly Bean, Johnson, and the crew could do. If you thought that there was a limit, they come back with Janet.
And they flipped the whole thing on everybody.
I mean, like, flipped it.
Coming from this industrial, hard-hitting, like dance beats and R&B and all that stuff and pop, and then we flip it, and now we're getting a lot smoother, the sensual, more experimental. It was crazy.
You're talking about, first of all, let me give you the stats with it. First female in the Nielsen SoundScan era to open #1 on Billboard. Sis is continuously breaking that glass ceiling, always. Right. But on this album, as you said, and she gets another Grammy for this album as well, and multiple awards. But as you mentioned, they blend R&B, house, swing, jazz, hip hop, rock, pop. They are doing it all on this album. Hold on, not on the album, one song.
Right, I was just about to say they are fusing multiple genres on one song. That's why I said they got even more experimental as they kept going.
Absolutely,
and it worked.
Yeah.
And this album, Janet, she drops Jackson. Janet is Janet, period, because at this point she's like solidifying that it's all me. Like it's like it has nothing to do with my family now. Like it's this, And on this one, they explore. This one's a little bit more exploring the themes of like romance and sex and love and I guess womanhood from what I pick up from it. But yeah.
I was gonna say, I mean, for me, when we talked about the other album, Control, being like the coming of age, teenage, into womanhood, this album is I'm a grown ass woman at this point. And she's saying that, I mean, and we talked about on the last album how she takes a bigger hand in songwriting and producing, but this one she is really, and they don't give her enough credit. People do not give her enough credit for her songwriting and producing. She does a lot of that on this album. She does a lot of that on this album.
A lot of it, And she's basically like, I don't care. Like I'm gonna talk about whatever I want to talk about, and y'all gonna like it. And I'm gonna get it as I'm gonna get as explicit as I want to get, or I'm gonna get as experimental as I want to get, and you're gonna like it.
It makes people very uncomfortable. Uncomfortable at the time, but she again
at the time
again
because you have to put in context. Right, you have to put in context where we were in society and artists doing these type of things and how provocative it. Like now, that would have just been a blip on the radar, like what she did now. But like at that time, it was like controversial, like it was crazy.
So we talk about really quickly before we go further into the album, singles. We have, That's the Way Love Goes. We have If. We have Again, Because of Love. Anytime, Any Place. You
that
Want
is like the crown. That's like the crown jewel on that album to me is the Anytime, Any Place. But
it is. You have Whoops Now and What I'll Do. First of all, that was what a time. What a time. From the videos to the looks, to the subject matter. What a time.
Right. What a time, right? Because it was like that quintessential like 90s, like I feel like around that time is like peak 90s like style or look, kind of, if you get where I'm going at. Like you said, the way everything was styled in the videos, all her promotional pictures and everything, like just everything is just like it reads 90s to me, but it's still influential because you see people all the time still now doing some of her looks from that era.
So I think also we have to mention during this time period, a shout out to Jennifer Lopez. She, back up dancing during that time. This is when during this time, Tina Landon is.
Oh, Tina Landon. This is the start of like. This is the start of Tina Landon's like Tina Landon had been dancing with. Tina Landon was one of Janet's choreographers and creative directors who was very important to to a lot of stuff. And she was already dancing with Janet during Control, but this is her taking reins and bringing Janet into a new style of performance and choreography. And a lot of her stuff is very like considered iconic choreography, like everybody still tries to do now.
So I think during this time she has she's acting again. Poetic Justice comes out during this time period. She stars alongside Tupac Shakur. So she got this going. She got the acting thing going. She got the music. She goes on tour again. This is her second one, the Janet World Tour. That is a tongue twister. The Critics. At this point, they are still player hating on her vocally, but again, they do say, "Wow, it's an experience when you go to this tour. We've not seen anything like this." The theatrics, and it's probably one of my third favorite tours from her. I like to see the clips from that tour, but yeah,
right, the clips, because like they have yet to release like a professional recorded version of that, and I really want to see it. But from the clips, like you said, I think I placed that on mine too, like about my third favorite from her. Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. And then let's say, oh, we didn't pick our top 3 from the album. We can do top 2 for the sake of time. So for me, it's off tops. It's gonna be If.
Yep, that's one of mine too.
If it's gonna be number 1 for me. I'm torn between the two, between That's the Way Love Goes and Anytime, Any Place. Just the feel of Anytime, Any Place.
That's my second one. Is Anytime, Any Place. The feel, like,
I know there are no words.
Like Jimmy Jam and Terry, like,
how do you mesh?
Like the way they play, the way they play with space in that song, because it's not full all the time, and they have these little like hits and bumps and little dooms and Janet does all these little vocal things all around, and it's the way they play with it so much, and they create this atmosphere, and it's great. It's great.
Me, and again, for that song, That's the Way Love, and I feel that way about That's the Way Love Goes too. It's a mood. The song was very intentional to put you in a certain mood. Very intentional, but it was both songs
very intentional.
Both songs very jazzy, very
jazzy.
She's very airy on the vocals, but it was all intentional to tell the story of the song.
All intentional, right? Like you said, well, That's the Way Love Goes. Like, I mean, and Jimmy Jam and Terry, like, they also were great users of sampling, and that's one of the songs, That's the Way Love Goes, that uses like 2 samples. In there, and they use it greatly, and it's got that bit of a hip hop element to it. It's got the jazz, and it's got your contemporary R&B, and I mean, that's what, like, I mean, that album was great, but those are definitely like standouts for sure.
That's that.
Oh, and If I have to touch on If, just how experimental that was. That was another rockish tinge single, but it's not just rock. Like, it has all this other stuff in it, and again, their use of sampling is wild to me, because they take this little part from a Supreme song or whatever that probably nobody pays attention to, and it becomes the main part of the song or whatever, and it's crazy. And like, that's one of those, like, her harmonies and vocal layering on that song is like, you can't compare it. Like, it's crazy. Like, that song is crazy. It really is. Like, we're gonna talk about it more another time, but so that song could be broken down.
So our viewers, if you haven't listened, go find it on YouTube, and you just sit with those background vocals. Goodness gracious, out of this world. So, wow, this album, we could go on and on, but during this same time, so as we come to the end of this album, they have the Janet remixes thing going on. They also do Design of a Decade, and they cover that hits. They do like a greatest hits,
it's a greatest hits. And like, with Design of a Decade, I just want to note, it's kind of crazy when you think about it. Like, at that point, she already had a full album of hits, and we still have all these other albums to go. They're gonna have even more hits or whatever. So it's crazy like that. Like, at this point, she already has a greatest hits album.
And
it's crazy.
They do 1986 from there to 1996. And sis, hold on. We ain't even got to touch your first 2 albums. We can forget all about those, because you got a That's crazy.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. So let's note. We have to note that Design of a Decade comes out in 95. What also comes out in 1995 is the most expensive video.
Right.
She finally collabed after all these years. She collabed with her older brother, Michael. And I remember the box, the video, video channel, the box. It was world premiering. It was the biggest thing you had ever seen. People stopped what they were doing because this video was coming out. It was the biggest thing.
I mean, it's 2 titans finally coming together, because they're brother and sister, but from what I read is that she didn't want to do anything with him until she had solidified her own thing, because it would have been she riding his coattails. He did it to help her out. So by this point, she's like her own thing. And now they can finally do something. I love the song. Jim and Terry Lewis did this one as well, which also shows how diverse they are. Because that production is wild as well. It's very wild. And a great video, like you said, expensive video, and also
choreography.
Right, choreography. And at this time, she also comes out with Runaway, which was just, the other single that was on the Design of Decade, and 24 Play, which weren't fillers. Like, they were hits in their own right as well, and they were really good. So, yeah.
Thanks for mentioning those, because I absolutely was going to shout those out. And I think Runaway is foreshadowing. It's foreshadowing a little bit, because if you look at her look in the video, because remember, she, at the end of that era, she starts playing with these different looks. Like, we see her being more sensual and sexual throughout the album, but she starts to really get like drastic with some of her like looks in these videos. So then we move on to
hold on. Let's take a little break to talk about Janet's vocal. Because I wanna touch on that, because I feel like a lot of people don't really understand like the beauty in her vocal performances.
Absolutely.
You know, everyone likes to joke, whisper, but the majority of her songs aren't that, which like confuses me.
Yeah.
And I think it's because we've been socially conditioned to think that loud, melisma, all kind of runs and things like that equals that's the only great singing. And don't get me wrong, that's great singing. That is a good indicator of a good singer, right? But like, you have the beauty of music and the beauty of having different types of people and different types of voices is that you have great singers that I don't know how to put this, but great singers that are also with lighter tones.
Yeah, you know, they can emote the same
everybody
way.
Can emote the same way. That's what I'm about to say. Everybody cannot, even people with big voices can't emote. And Janet to me is one of the best emoters. Like, if you listen to her songs, she can get the mood of it with her vocal timbre, and she can switch up her timbre like crazy. Like, she can do those very sensual, sexual, soft songs, but then she can hit you hard with the rock stuff, but then she can hit you with the R&B, groovy, smooth, but then she can hit you with the dance pop, electronic stuff. And it's like, her voice can go over so many different things, and everybody doesn't have that at all. And I consider her a really great vocalist, just in the way she knows her instrument, she knows how to use it, and her vocal layering and backgrounds and harmonies are bar none. The only people I can put up there with her in that is like Brandy, Mariah Carey, Michael Jackson. I'm sure there may be like a few others, but like they all harmonize with their own voices. They all do the stacking and the layering, and her layering is just crazy. Like, I would really implore anybody that watches this to look up any of her acapellas online. You'll see how intricate and how melodic, and it's crazy what they do. It's really crazy. Everybody can't do that at all.
Yeah, and we'll talk about.
I just want to say it.
No, you're absolutely right. We'll talk about that more. One of my favorites is, when she does "I Get So Lonely," the acapella version. Again, Jesus Christ. She's amazing. But I will also say, when you think of, although the sounds are a little bit different, I think I go to a place, I think of Diana Ross. Diana Ross was not the most powerful singer, but she just she knew her voice, she knew her lane, and it fit for her. And it's really difficult as I guess they consider Janet like a somewhat of a soprano. Like, it can be difficult at times to find like those songs that fit you, but she figured it out, and then she opens up a lane. We see the Sierras, the Britneys, the Tinashes, all these other artists that come after. Hell, if you want to, I put Kelly in there somewhat, just the range and the vocal ability. But I mean, she opens up this lane that we would have never had she not learned to be comfortable in that space.
And I have to say, with that, Janet, dang, I just lost it. But you can put all those people in that lane. And Janet, I don't know, like her, like I really wish there were more kind of studies on her vocal stuff. Like, and I'm starting to see them a little bit more and more. Like, you can kind of find stuff on YouTube, people breaking down the backgrounds and people breaking down her leads and what's so special about them and things like that. Because, like I said, we've been conditioned. Mm-hmm. But even if you hear people with larger voices or people you consider could really sing try to do her songs, they never sound as good because it's the approach. It's the approach to the song or whatever. It's not just being able to sing, it's how you approach it. And it's like, I don't know, it's just wild. Like I have heard some good versions from people covering her songs with bigger voices, but it's rare that it sounds just as good as hers.
Yeah. And I think also what helps with that is these are songs that she wants to write about. These are things that she wants to talk about. And they mean something to her, and like you said, she's able to translate that and emote very well. And so therefore, it comes together and it produces something great. So I am on the same page with you. I don't understand why people don't give her more praise when it comes to vocal ability. Which again, during this era, critics are still like, okay, it's cute.
Your favorites recognize it because I hear Brandy and all them talk about it all the time. They be like, if you're a real music person, you real singer and stuff, like you really know about Janet.
You do.
But
you do. Mm-hmm. So, wow, again, what a time to be alive. Right. What a time. At this point, they're calling her the queen of radio at this point because she has so many singles and hits. They're calling her the queen of radio at this point. So we then move into which, for me, 96, 7, 8 were a time for R&B music.
R&B, yeah.
I mean, it was a time. So we get into 1997. Wow. And again, she's back. She's working with Jammin' Lewis.
Yeah.
And she drops probably, I'm going to say my second favorite album. It's probably, second. I'll say. She drops Velvet Rope.
The Velvet Rope. We go dark. We go dark this era. We go dark. We go it's themes of introspection, themes of emotional and physical abuse, themes of homophobia, the AIDS crisis, death, loneliness. Trying to belong, and the Velvet Rope. I just love, and we've talked about the Velvet Rope before, but I just love the theme of it and the metaphor of that Velvet Rope is like classism, elitism, and everybody wants to feel special because you see how we act. Not we, because I don't, but you see how people act on social media, right? Smoke and mirrors. It's about that look and about having that status. And the Velvet Rope was a metaphor for that. And she's like, I'm opening this Velvet Rope to let you inside. So it's almost like a journal, kind of a journal thing. I just love the concept behind it.
Yeah. I love it because again, it's like we are on this journey with her, right? Because let's go back to Rhythm Nation, where she is talking about things that are outward. Right. She's talking about outward. Now we get to this album that is very introspective. This is me. This is what I'm going through. This is how the world, my life, how things are impacting me. I just love this album and how she brings you into her world without you actually being in her world.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it makes sense, and it feels like that when you look from the way it begins, like the way it starts with her talking, and then it does that, like it's like you're going. I picture it as you're going down the rabbit hole, like into Janet's world. Like that's what the album feels like. It's like, okay, because the album is trippy. It's trippy. It's and it's the precursor to the alternative R&B.
Absolutely.
And a lot of alternative artists and indie artists cite this album as a huge inspiration for them. Like it's really like the prediction of a lot of stuff that was to come, even with social media, which trips me out still when I hear that song. I'm like, that's crazy. Yeah. Because we had no idea that's where we were going, and she already was singing about it. Absolutely. About relationships and relating through the screen and all that kind of stuff. So yeah. It's a crazy album.
And this is the album for me. If you, again, Janet, we saw with the Janet album, we see that, Jammin' Lewis and her try all these different sounds. They push the envelope even more. Here, with the
Oh yeah.
sounds.
Mm-hmm.
And again,
Oh
this
yeah.
is the theme. They are not afraid to try things on her.
Mm-hmm.
They're not
Yeah.
afraid
And she's not afraid to try it,
at
you
all.
know?
At all. And so I
Yeah.
think one of the shocking things was people were like shocked by her appearance. She
Mm-hmm.
changes the appearance. She has the red hair at this point. She has
Right.
piercings. I
Piercings,
remember,
the tattoos,
yeah, and it was a lot of
all that stuff.
yeah, it was a lot of like uh I don't know what we call them, but like a lot of hearsay about her personally. Like
Yeah.
I hear she does this behind closed doors. I hear she's
Right,
like
right.
this. It was all of that. It was a
It
lot
was
of that.
all of that. Yeah. It really was. Yeah.
And if you thought she was sexy before,
right.
goodness gracious.
Yeah, I mean, this just took it a step further. I mean, like I said, the themes are darker. They're a little bit more robust. She's talking about stuff that mainstream artists aren't really talking, like the domestic abuse or AIDS or the LGBTQ community or just everything. And yeah, like you said, it's just like even the visuals, they're a little bit different. They're a little bit darker. Yeah. And some of my favorite visuals from her are during this era, like the Got Till It's Gone video is one of my favorite. I mean, just beautifully shot with the apartheid in South Africa, whole like theme and feel and all the beauty of the Black people during that time. And it's just I love that era. This is one of my favorite eras from her. Yeah.
Shout out to them again, sampling songs, very small pieces,
yeah,
taking it somewhere else. I do want to note that she again goes on tour with the Velvet Rope tour, probably up there for one
of my favorite tours.
She does an HBO special as well. It's noted it's like one of the most viewed HBO specials or viewed specials that they had on their channel. And she goes on to win an Emmy for that tour.
Yeah.
Who does that?
Right.
Who does it?
I mean, I remember when that tour was on tour. And I didn't get to go, but I remember when it came to Nashville, I remember everybody talking about it. Like I remember everybody talking about it. And then I remember when they started airing it on ABC Family, when it was ABC Family at the time. That's how I got to see it, because I didn't have HBO or none of that either. So I didn't see it till they put it on regular cable like TV. Yeah. And I was enthralled. I was like, yeah, this is it.
That's crazy. So we have on that, so singles for that album, she has got Till It's Gone, Together Again, I Get Lonely, Go Deep, You, Every Time. First of all, I think with Janet, she already had like this solid, loyal fan base. But it's like she just continued to gather.
Yeah, just continue to gather.
Like from every walk of life. This album, she, like you said, she got those alternative rockers type of things. Like they started to listen to what she was doing. But the song that sticks out for me is I Get So Lonely, because you hear people cite that song all the time from different genres. Yeah. And they've covered it. And then she comes back and hits you over the head with the remix.
Right.
That puts her on that R&B chart. Again, like this album was phenomenal.
It was. And like, what wasn't Got Till It's Gone the first single? And that they felt like that was real risky, like as the first single, for the album and everything. And
a rapper.
It worked out. It worked out great. Yeah. And it's like, and that's one of the ones when we talk about mood and atmosphere and them creating, today everybody be like, it's a vibe. It's a vibe. This is such a vibe. And I'm like, y'all don't really know what a real vibe, like to cultivate a real vibe and atmosphere with the music. That's what they did, or that's what they were doing. Like, not to say nothing is being created like that today, and not to say that, but I'm saying like everybody calls everything a vibe, right? And it's really not. It's really not. But yeah.
And we have to note before we move forward 2 things. One, this again was another Blueprint album. We see other artists, whether it's Rated R with Rihanna, where they get very dark. This became very like dark. Another Blueprint thing for a lot of artists.
Very personal. Oh yeah, it did become I consider this her magnum opus. I will put this as her magnum opus out of all her albums. But yeah, I agree. It's the blueprint for the I'm going dark, I'm going edgy, I'm going to be more mature, I'm going to talk about some hard things, I'm going to get personal. Like that, this is that blueprint for that. I hate to say it like that. I know it makes it sound trivial, but like that's how they be. That's how they do. I mean, it's like everybody has that album now that oh, okay, this is the real me. Like this is the adult, you know, all that kind of stuff. But
I'm in a new place in my life.
Right.
So I think if I had to do top 2 off of this album, it's definitely gonna go to I'm gonna go to I Get So Lonely or I Get Lonely, and I'm gonna go to Till It's Gone.
Oh man, this is hard for me.
I know. Let's not even talk about the album cuts because I mean,
right.
We talk about the album cuts and that's different.
Wait, what?
If we say like if we're naming album cuts like the actual ones that weren't singles, then I might have to change. But
right, because yeah, I'm about to say, okay, well, out of the singles, I would say, I mean, I Get Lonely for sure. And Together Again, because I love the message of that song. I love how it is talking about something sad, but it's celebratory at the same time. Yeah. Again, that Trojan horse, that peel and applesauce, like they talking about death and everything, but it's celebratory and you want to dance to it, and it's also like it gives you that look into a brighter future feeling. Absolutely. And then but the album cuts, I would have to say What About, that is an amazing song, put like the way it's produced, arranged, everything is put together. What About, and I would say I love Special because I love the message in that one, but that's kind of a short song. But anyways, I don't know. I love the whole album. But...
What About Perform Live, amazing. The arrangements, the visual. What About?
Yes.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
So great. Okay. So, and we have to note too, she then follows up. She does her second, which she does another video that is considered one of the highest what it's called. It's up there with Scream. Costs a lot of money, but she drops it. What's It Gonna Be with Busta Rhymes?
Yes.
Goodness.
Now this was a moment. This was a moment as well. I remember that. Yeah. I mean, I remember watching that video all the time.
I remember the making of it when they did like the making of the video, and I just that's crazy. I mean, it's just you don't even have the words for how crazy.
Right. It's a great pairing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So she does that, and you talking about giving sexy. She was giving sexy the whole video.
Yeah.
So Janet then goes on. She takes a little bit of a break. She takes a little bit of a break. I mean, she had been consistent at this point for almost close to 20 years at that point, right? If not 20. So she takes a little bit of a break. Things are changing because remember, Velvet Rope is 1997. She had been consistently either putting out albums, singles, touring. She takes a little bit of a break, and then things have changed. We get to the new millennium. It's 2001.
The music scape has totally changed. Now we've just gotten the Latin explosion of J-Lo, Mark Anthony, Ricky Martin. We just got the pop explosion of Britney Spears, Backstreet Boys, NSYNC, Christina Aguilera. We got Destiny's Child. We got like this is where you start to have like kind of the newer class starting to come in like right around this time. And I can only imagine they're probably thinking, well, they probably wasn't thinking of nothing like Janet and them, but probably like the outside people are probably looking like, oh, like what they gonna do, because now this is the time for the younger ones that's coming up now and all this kind of stuff.
I think the bets were the bets were against her. I think the bets were against her. First of all, the bets have always been against her, and that she comes and she surpasses expectations, right?
Right.
2001 hit. All of those things that you named are happening. We got the rise of the boy band, girl groups, all that kind of stuff at its height. She comes back out with All For You.
Right.
And you would think that by the way she's looking and dancing that she is a new artist.
Right. Yeah. I mean, she came back and she came through and like smashed it. Like, I mean, that single was huge. It was really big. And I think it still holds the record for something like being added to radio or something like that, like the only song or something like that.
Mhm.
But yeah, she came back with a brighter sound. It was everything was more upbeat. It's light. Like she still I'm sorry, the All For You album. The themes are still, she still got some, some like little darkness and stuff in there. But like you said about Rhythm Nation, it's kind of that thing of things are still happening. I'm not all the way right from the Velvet Rope, but
Yeah.
I'm going to go out there and live life. I'm still gonna have fun. I'm still looking for new love and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of how I look at the album. Like, and that album really flows like a story too.
It does.
Like, yeah, it starts with your upbeat dance. I'm out at the club, my friends, I'm having fun. I'm looking for people to hook up with, or I'm looking for a new love. Then it goes into the sexy suite, is what I call it, where it's like 3 or 4 songs back to back that's like very sensual, talking about sex and love. And then you go to the parts that are a little bit more experimental and dark, that's kind of about like past relationships and people. And then then that last kind of goes into the future is bright, like, inspirational kind of thing. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think during this time we have to remember she's acting. That first single, Doesn't Really Matter, is off of the soundtrack of The Klumps 2.
Right.
And so that just made it an even bigger single, and then she drops that album. So we see her acting, we see her dropping this drop this album. She gets the MTV Icon Award during this time, which is so set in my mind. I can remember that entire
I remember that too.
That was like the last time.
The only thing,
yeah,
I wish with that though, I do wish that we could have maybe gotten that a little later. And I only say that, I only say that because I mean it's a great idea and it's not bad, right? Everybody, I mean, they had everybody in there. Outkast, Macy Gray, Pink, like everybody was in there, right? But all of these people weren't at their like top of their like how they are they're performing type game like they are now.
New artists, very new artists.
Yeah, they were all still kind of like new and stuff. And I'm like, dang, if we could only have just waited a little longer when they got a little bit more season, it just would have. I think it would have held up a lot more. But it was still good. Like at that time, it was everything for sure. Because you had NSYNC doing "That's the Way Love Goes," and then you had Maya, Pink, and Usher doing a dance tribute. Then you had Macy Gray. Like it was crazy. Like
she does that during that time. She is getting a lot of, and I love this time period because I feel like the younger artists, while they are coming up, making their own way, they were big about paying homage to those that have led the way. And we see it. I mean, whether it was them doing that, going on tour. I think NSYNC had done a tour with her at one point in time, or had gone on tour with her. Like they were paying homage to these artists, and it was good to see during that time. And they embraced her. They embraced her. I don't even think, nowadays people are scared when icons drop or they don't give them any credit. They say, hey, they're old, but they embraced her when she dropped.
They embraced her. And at the time, like I said, she was still, when she dropped All For You, like it was legitimately like a big thing. Like she was still competing with them. It wasn't like, you know how sometimes like some artists, like legends or whatever, they can come out with something with the younger crowd, but it's not a hit or anything like that, or it's not as big. Like she was still competing with her younger contemporaries at the time.
Absolutely. So I do want to note, she has Jammin' Lewis on here, but she's also merging with some other producers. I know Walker is on here.
I want to say that too.
Yeah, you see her do that. You see her team up with Missy as well. And I think I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No, I was just gonna say this is the first time we see her starting to step out from like they're still Jam and Lewis are very much a part of the whole thing, but that you see that they start to add other people to the mix, and that's from here on up. Like they start to do that, and what I really like about that is because they kind of get people who aren't like super established yet. Like they done some things, but they kind of get like Rockwilder, like at that time hadn't had the big stuff yet, or whatever. And it's like crazy when you look at the credits and see which ones he was a part of, because it's like you wouldn't think that he had did that with them. And that's why I think they bring out like all kinds of stuff out of people because they're so diverse, you know. Yeah.
I like it too because I felt like it is them showing that they're still students of this thing, right? We're not so good at this that we can't learn or let you lead us. This was new for them. This era, this time period, the sound was new. So what better way than to merge with up and coming or those that were popping at the time? It was just genius. It was genius to do that. And it helped. It helped her. You know what I'm saying? She gets another number one. She goes on tour again.
One of my favorites. One of my favorite tours as well.
Yep, she goes. If you haven't seen that, it is on YouTube, I believe.
Yeah, you can find it on YouTube. You can find the Velvet Rope on YouTube too. That tour.
So then, singles off of this album, she has "All for You," "Someone to Call My Lover," "Son of a Gun," and "Come On Get Up." Just a little sidebar story. Literally, the summer was 2001.
Yeah,
Rashad and I would literally go from MTV to BET to VH1, and when this song came on, we would put the captions on and sing the song full out.
Yeah, because we wanted to know what she was saying for sure.
We wanted to know, but what a time! What a time!
I mean, I love this album. I really do love this album, and this is one of them I would like to do a deep dive on for sure in the future, because I feel like it's starting to get a little bit more talked about. How we talk about Control, Rhythm Nation, how we talk about the first four, but I feel like this one doesn't get enough talk or whatever sometimes, and it's really great. And I do think. I feel like they dropped the ball just a little bit on this one as far as the promotion of it. Yeah. I don't feel like they released the right singles that they should have released after Doesn't Really Matter and All For You. I feel like they kind of messed it up a little bit, but that's just a whole other conversation. But yeah.
And we will save that for when we do our deep dive. In her album.
So what's your favorites off of this? You don't even have to do singles, just like what's your favorites off the album?
Cause I wanna take you.
That is a good song, though. That's a good song. As explicit as it is, it's a good song.
Yeah, Would You Mind is my jam, but Someone to Call My Lover is.
Oh yeah, I love that one.
That
Trust or Try.
Oh, screw you. Yeah, that's my jam.
That Trust or Try is everything to me. Like that. When I heard that for the first time, I was just like, what is this? I was like, that was something I had never heard. It was new. It was experimental. It was avant-garde, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Like it was rock, opera, R&B, pop. Like it was everything mixed in there. And I just thought it was amazing. And I read that they were, I think they wanted that as a single, but something happened to why. I think if that would have came out as a single, I think it would have been huge.
The video
would have been crazy.
Bananas. Would have been bananas.
The live performance of that song is crazy. And okay, so anyways, Trust or Try. I love China Love.
Oh yeah, you have always loved this song.
I love that song, if not just for the vocal layering and harmonies and melodies. And then I would say, I mean, of course the singles, I like those, but I'm gonna leave it at that right now. But yeah.
All right. So yeah. So we get that album Off of You 2001. And I think for that album specifically, I think that was her album, like I'm here. Don't forget I'm here. Like
yeah.
Just remember I'm here.
I'm just having fun at this point.
Yeah. I'll take it easy.
Yeah.
There you guys. So we move on.
And this is Where the Other Shoe Drops.
So we get to Damita Jo, right? Again.
No, we have to set up Damita Jo, Terica. This is why I'm talking about the other shoe drops. Well, Super Bowl happens, right? We ain't gotta like focus on that, but
into this song.
But we have to give the context for Damita Jo with this. But this happens, Super Bowl happens, and I still consider it one of the best ones. I wish the whole thing would have just been her. Yeah. But the Super Bowl happens. We all know what happened with that. We know the backlash that happens with that.
Hold on, stop. Super Bowl happens end of January into February or early February. This album is set to drop the end of March. So let's just bad timing for it. Go ahead.
Bad timing. We know the backlash and the fallout. We all know how unfortunate that was. We know how unfair it was. Yeah. And we all know how it hurt her career and legacy for a good minute. Or whatever. She got blacklisted from stuff. Yeah. Promotion wasn't as heavy as it could be and all that kind of stuff. So we all know that. So that leads into Damita Jo, and we set that context because Damita Jo is a very underrated album. And the only reason it is because of that Super Bowl thing happened. If that Super Bowl thing wouldn't have happened, that probably would have been another smash album. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is the first time that she doesn't have a debuting number one in a long time. Over maybe 15, 20 years, she doesn't have a debuting number one. And so again, you're absolutely right. That situation really hurt her. Really hurt her in a lot of ways. I think during this time, some of the things that she was working on, she had been recruited to do the Lena Horne movie. She doesn't get to do that. There were numerous appearances and business deals that were canceled at this time, and so and nobody was really even willing to give the album a chance, which is a really good album. Again, we got to note this is 2004 when this drops. Music is yet changing again. You have up and coming Kanye West, John Legend on this album. You have
you got Johnson Austin,
Dallas Austin, Babyface.
Dallas Austin, not Johnson Austin. I'm sorry.
She's working with Scott Storch. We're both sometimes. Scott Storch. But I mean, it had all the right pieces to be another amazing album.
It did, and it still did well. It didn't do Janet well, but it did well for the music industry at that time because that's when sales were kind of going down and the streaming hadn't happened yet, but the whole peer-to-peer networking and file sharing and illegal downloads and all that stuff. So the album still did okay, but it wasn't what it could have been. But like you said, it had all the right pieces. Like Jim Jam and Terry again are heading the album, but they're bringing in new people and bringing in other people to add other elements to her sound. And that's one of my favorite eras from Kanye is this era when he was producing for people.
Yes.
And I really like a lot of the stuff that he did for her on this album. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think the album, we've said this already, is accredited for like the vocal harmonies on there and the innovation, which is nothing new for her. Right. What you also see though is that her audience with this album changes a little bit. You do see more of the lovers of R&B be more on this album, lovers of hip hop. She really gets the backing and support from that audience group, not so much from the ones of former, and it could be due to the situation with the Super Bowl, but you do see the fan base change just a little bit.
And I think the concept, she kind of started that concept thing of the dual personalities, and because that's what I don't know if it was exactly clear in the album, but when I read about it and when I read what they were going for and I listen, I'm like, oh, I get it. But yeah, it was supposed to be like a dual personality thing, or she had these different personalities and these were the songs that matched each one. And as you see, more artists did that later on that start the whole, oh, I got different personalities, and that's the gimmick and the concept and all that kind of stuff. So absolutely. What's your favorite off of here?
You know what I'm going with.
What you gonna say?
you know I'm going with I Want You. I mean, John Legend, writing that song, Kanye producing it. I mean,
giving us that Motown feel, like, and we hadn't heard Janet like that yet either at that point, like kind of over something like that. That was really nice.
Yeah, that's gonna be my favorite on there.
I like so many songs off of this album.
I know,
but I'm just gonna give a few of my favorites. Truly, that's one of the things you have to that plays with space again in her vocal take on it. It's crazy. Just a Little While, it's a little rockish. I think Dallas Austin did that one. Of course, I Want You. R&B Junkie, Island Life. There's a lot of great ones that didn't get like what they should have got. But yeah.
Yeah. And it's crazy. She does that island vibe. This is still too around the time she does like the song with Beanie Man. You actually was like, that song ain't even that great. But I like it. It reminds me of the time period, so I really like it. But yeah, I mean, for me, this album, if you haven't heard it, I would encourage you to go listen to a really good album. And I put it up there with the rest of her albums.
I do too.
I do.
In retrospect, like when it came out, I'm not going to lie. When it came out, I wasn't really like as into it, but retrospectively, it is. I'll put it up there where other ones too. It's more. It still got your dance stuff in there, but it's a little bit more R&B based throughout the whole thing. And she has a lot of great material on there.
Absolutely, I agree. So, got this album, got this time period. This is 2004. And again, we see a lot of different changes with music. Like it during this time period, it was like the early 2000s. It was multiple changes in music, like just one after another, and so you had to keep up. And so we move forward to 2006. We get to 20YO, where this is celebrating her 20 years, which I guess they're doing it based off just. I don't know how to count.
It was 20 years since Control.
Yeah, which is weird because I feel like we're way past 20 years at this point. But
well, we're past 20 years of her in the industry, but like 20 years since Control came out. Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. So 20YO comes out. I think by this time, 2 years has passed since the last album, since the situation at the Super Bowl. You would think, we're at a better place. She's now with Jermaine Dupri. Jimmy Jam and Terry are still around, but I think Jermaine is taking the reins.
Yeah, he's taking more of a bit more of a lead.
Yeah,
with her stuff. And I believe that she was in the studio with a lot of people.
Yeah, she was
for this one, but it all just didn't really. It all, you know how it works with music and stuff. You get in, you try stuff out and everything, but. It was mainly Jermaine Dupri and Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis kind of heading it. I liked the concept of what it was. Like, we're celebrating 20 years because if you listen to the album, the interludes and stuff had little bits and pieces from different songs on the different albums in her discography, and they mixing them in and stuff like that. But I would consider this a low point out of the discography to me. Personally, there are some great things on there that I do really like, but just as a whole, compared to the other ones, I don't think it's her best. A lot of people, I read that a lot of people like blame Jermaine Dupri for like the downfall of it. I don't blame Jermaine Dupri because I think he did some good stuff with her. Like, I think "Call on Me" is beautiful. With her and Nelly, I think that was a great idea to put them together.
Love this song.
So Excited. I love it. Hits hard, it's dancey. Like he does some good stuff on there, and Jimmy Jam and them bring the classic, like they got the classic sensual stuff on there and some of the upbeat dance stuff. But it just, I don't know, just them, all the ideas. I saw what they were going for and what they were doing, but I don't know if all the ideas were executed to the best of what they could have been.
Yeah, I think that they like. We see the vision, we see the concept of where they were trying to go, but I think it was just like so many different mixtures in the pot, right? You got so many different mixtures in the pot, and then I think also they were trying to still redeem her after all of that had happened. They were trying to redeem from the last album. I think there was still a lot of things that were up against them. I love the idea because Jermaine Dupri was on fire again during this time period.
So
it did make sense in a way. It made sense, but then I think for the redemption piece of it and for just getting her back into, I don't even want to say the fans' good graces. I don't even want to use that, but I think to get her back out there where they were focused on the music and not the other stuff. I really feel like Jam and Lewis probably should have taken the reins on this one. Just me personally. I think they should.
I agree too.
Yeah. So you get this album, and I do want to say she's acting again. Why Did I Get Married comes out during this time, the first one. And so you said Call on Me, So Excited, With You, they were the singles.
Mhm.
I'm trying to think, is Dance All Night was on this album, right?
No, that was on Damita
That
Joe.
was the album before. I don't know why I get them confused. I don't know why I confused the two, but yeah.
Mhm.
For me, Call on Me was the single. I thought it was genius for her and Nelly to
Me
be put
too.
together. He
I
so
would. I
melodic.
don't think he is so melodic. That's what I say.
Yeah.
I don't think I even would have thought of that. Like Janet and Nelly, because Nelly is very melodic and Janet's voice is very melodic.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, man, what a great combo. And then the song that they did is actually pretty good. Like it's really good. I think it's just a beautiful song. Like all the harmonies and stuff in there. Nelly's kind of like rough edge on it and stuff. Like I think it all works really well.
Yeah, they complemented each other's voices very well on that song. And So Excited was, like you said, it was just a bop.
Yeah, it was. I really like that one.
Yeah, we have to.
I had to give some honorable mention. Right, Kaya. Right, I have to give some honorable mentions to "Take Care." I mean, that was a classic Janet bedroom Janet song on that album, and "Enjoy," which is just a very positive, uplifting song. Yeah,
I forgot all about that one.
Yeah,
you always
Slick sound like Michael in that one too.
She does.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, again, Janet is still coming out with these albums, still making statements, but we know that time period, 2004, up until that album, really kind of hurt her a little bit when it comes to the sales and what the consumers were willing to hear and listen to. This is when like we see the influence, like how much control the media had on just the narrative. We really saw it with her career during this time period. So then we get to Discipline. We get to this era. So for me, again, this is another one of those albums where she had the perfect mix of people. She has Dark Child on here.
Well, first we gotta note this is the first album that Jam and Lewis is not on at all. They're not on it at all. So she's totally a new regime of people. Go ahead.
Absolutely. No, thank you for noting that. Yeah, so whole new group of people. This is,
you were naming them.
This was 2008. So yeah, a few years have passed. So she has Dark Child. She has LaShawn on here. Tricky. She's working with Stargate. She has The Dream. Neo on this album. So it was Jermaine's on here again.
Jermaine's on here. Yeah.
For the time period, she had every super producer or every
every hit maker
on this. So it made sense. It made sense this album would do well. So
and this one is like, things of like what she's touched on before, like BDSM or and like futuristic love and all that stuff. Like it's kind of a mix of things, but it's very, in its core, it's very electronic, dance pop, forward kind of R&B. It's definitely not appreciated like it should be. At the time it came out, I'm going to say that it was ahead of its time, because it was like right after this album is when dance pop like took off.
Right after
when, like everybody was doing it. Yeah, like right after this album. And I was like, if this would have just came out a little later. I mean, Feedback, she had a hit. She had a big #1 off of that one.
And it was her like, and we have to note that it was her first high charting single since All For You. So that, I mean, we're not trying to downplay anything about this album, but it just, again, it wasn't what we were used to with the legacy of her.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And I love that when it came out. I loved the album. Like I was into it. I couldn't understand why I wasn't getting, because I was like, this is so cool. Like this is amazing. Like it gave her a different sound. She wasn't doing it. Like it was, again, she's trying new things, and she's still experimenting and still reinventing. And like that electronic dance, like forward R&B thing was just like really cool to me. And And I believe she was under Island Records by this point, and I do think they messed up the promotion of this album again. Like somebody like they stopped the promotion of it, and it didn't get its just due. And I believe she asked to get out of the contract just because they didn't do what I guess she wanted them to do with the promotion of the album. And I don't necessarily think they understood what they had, and I don't think they understood what to do because Island was under Def Jam. Def Jam is primarily hip hop. And that's the thing that we also, side note, that's the thing we also need to fix in this industry now is to stop letting these hip hop people and people who are hip hop heads or hip hop A&Rs and stuff, they keep trying to mesh R&B and mesh other artists under these people, and they don't know how to work with that because all they are hip hop or whatever, and they don't know how to promote it and market it correctly. Yeah. And so I think that's what happened with this discipline or whatever. I don't think they really knew what to do with it, to be honest.
But I think, and I would love to touch on that in an episode because I think we've seen it work before, and I think we've seen the marriage of hip hop and R&B when it comes to like the actual product. We've seen it work, so I think they believe that it might translate well on the executive side of things, the decision making side of things, and it's worked before. We've seen it, but I mean, it works. I can agree with what you're saying. Yeah, I can agree with what you're saying.
It works when you're doing a hip hop R&B record, but when you're giving R&B artists to people who know nothing about the genre or don't know nothing outside the bubble of hip hop. All they know is hip hop. Yeah. They don't know how to market and promote it well. They're going to get producers and stuff to come up with stuff, but they're not going to really know how to like get in there and like create something like really cool. And I say that just from experience of interning at these labels and studios and stuff like that and seeing people's careers get messed up or people's careers not really go where they could go. But that's all I want to say. It's just a real pet peeve of mine because all Black people and Black art, we're not all the same, and that's how they treat it in the industry and stuff like that. But especially when it comes to Black, let me say when it comes to Black artists and stuff like that. But yeah. Anyways, that's a side note. But yeah,
well, no, it is noted. I mean, like you said, she was on Island at the time. L.A. Reid was kind of running things at the time, and Darkchild has said, you know, he doesn't think that the label nor L.A. Reid really believed in the project or pushed it hard enough, and so didn't do what it could have done. So
it didn't. I mean, they came up with some amazing things on that album. Like I said, forward thinking, and that type of stuff end up being huge. Like just like not too long after that. And but anyways, what's some of your favorites off of there? I'm sorry.
Some of my favorite. Well, I'm gonna just name my one. My one is Love. I love the record itself. It just
that should have been a huge hit, Terica. That should have been a huge hit. Yeah.
And that's LaShawn Daniels who wrote that one. But yeah, right. Those are my favorites. Yeah.
Love. I would say Love for sure. I mean, I love Feedback as well. You know what? I didn't get appreciation for Rock With You till later on.
Later. Yeah.
Yeah. Neo did his thing on that or whatever. That's another one that's a vibe and an atmosphere. Like, you know, I love Discipline, the song on there. Discipline. Neo did his thing on that too. And I really like Something in the Air Tonight. I think is the title of it. But anyways, the album, she has a tour that unfortunately stopped in the middle of it, but I have seen videos of it and it's a really cool tour. I will put it up there with her other ones. Really just in the production and the creative direction of it. I wish we could get a professional recorded version of it, but yeah, I don't know. Discipline, Discipline is one of my favorites. So yeah.
And I will say again, she's acting, and Why Did I Get Married? Part 2 comes out during this time period as well. So I mean, she had all the right people. She was getting the promo from the movie as well. So album didn't do terribly bad, but again, it wasn't what we were used to with the legacy of what we had come to know with Janet. So yeah. So and then
we got 2 videos out of it, I think. We got two videos. Yeah.
And then I think after this, she released like a number ones. kind of, I guess, like all of her number one songs. She released
Yeah.
that. They kind
And
of,
that's like the second.
I'm
That's
sorry.
like the second greatest hits. That's like the second greatest hits album. And that's why, like when I was talking about Design of a Decade earlier, it's crazy because now she has a greatest hits where it's just straight number ones.
Yeah,
And it's full. Like it's almost like a 2 disc.
yeah,
And that's crazy. Yeah.
super crazy. So I think
And she went on tour for the number ones.
she
And I
did.
thought that was a really great concept. She did more of a stripped back, more of like she did theaters. It wasn't arenas and stuff like that. It was theaters, and she only did the number ones. Like she didn't do like any other the popular album cuts and stuff like that. Like just straight number ones. And what's crazy to me is that she's able to do a whole concert, which is straight a whole 2 hour concert, which is straight number ones.
Straight.
No other single, just straight number ones.
That's crazy. That is bananas.
Mm-hmm.
So she again she's now taking a break a little bit. She does do a little bit of acting. She does for Color Girls, doing this kind of, I don't want to say hiatus or break. She does that during that time, and we see her become a wife again. We see her become a mother. So she's changing. The music is changing. And then she comes back 2015 with Unbreakable. Nobody, I don't think no one was more excited than Rashad and I. Nobody was more excited.
And I had tapered expectations because I was like, I don't know. I'm not saying I wasn't like positive, but like I was just like, I don't know what to expect. So I was like, I'm not gonna go in with like, oh, this is gonna be great, but I'm not gonna go in with like, oh, let's see what they did. I don't know. It's been years. Like I was open to it, but I was excited about it.
Absolutely. And this is on her own label, Rhythm Nation label. So that was huge for her. And then she again goes on tour, the Unbreakable tour. She does it, and she's back with Jam and Lewis.
Right, back with Jam and Lewis, back with the A-Team. And again, they bring in somebody who's upcoming, Dem Joints, who now is doing like great, like doing a lot of great work and stuff like that. And he was doing it then, but like he wasn't like known yet. And Dem Joints came in and meshed with them and came up with some great stuff.
Yeah, and I feel like with this album, this is the first time we hear her address anything with like Michael and losing him. We about that. She addressed her fans and just like thank you for being here and your loyalty type of thing.
Right.
And it felt like the reunion we all had been waiting for between her, Jam, and Lewis. It just felt good.
I was pleasantly surprised at how good the album was. Like I said, not to say that I didn't think it was going to be good, but I didn't think it was going to be as good as it was. Because sometimes when people come back after a while and people who have had like their big successes and stuff like that, you just never really know what they're going to do, because it's like, are they going to try to fit in with the current trends? Are they going to do something that sounds dated? Like, what are they going to do? And what I loved about it, first of all, she did what she wanted to do. She's like, I'm going to do what I want to do. She didn't try to fit. It was contemporary, but not trying to fit into the like young contemporary, like what was going on. Like it matched her where she was at, but it was still today. So I think they did an amazing job. So many amazing songs on there. Again, Terica, she experimented again and still tried some stuff we hadn't heard from her before.
Absolutely.
Now she's got folksy stuff on there. She's got a country rock sounding song on there. Like she got stuff she had a couple of songs that did have that Bay Area kind of feel, like that DJ Mustard kind of feel. But then again, that goes back to Jam and Lewis, because I think some of that stuff is influenced from that. But she samples her own self on the album,
Ooh, so that breakdown.
That breakdown.
That breakdown. Who samples themselves? Who does that?
Right.
Don't worry. I don't need your sample. I'm such an icon. I'm such a legend.
Right.
I sample my damn self. Don't worry about it. So she's back with them. I think she gets back to that focus. She has a theme in this album. It's very clear what the theme is. She's back to dancing. She looks good. She looks healthy. And it was just an exciting time. I think if I had to pick singles out of this one, if I had to pick one, I'm going with The Greatest Forever.
Okay.
That went, and then of course, Damn Baby.
Yeah. Yeah, of course, Damn Baby for sure. I love After You Fall.
Mm-hmm.
I love I love Night. Just that house. It's a house song, house dance song. And I love Black Eagle because I love how that's just something I hadn't heard from her yet. And it's very folksy, it's different. I mean, I say folksy, I don't even know really where it falls, but I think it's folk Americana, somewhere around that. But I love that album. Oh, and the We Gonna Be All Right, which is another thing we hadn't heard from her, which was like the Slide in the Family, like psychedelic, like 70s thing that she did, and it was really great.
Yeah. Which she, has been noted to say that those are some of her influences. Slide in the Family songs. She's very influenced by them. So overall, a good album. I thought it was good, a good comeback for her.
I do
once
too.
Once she comes back with this album, it's almost like all is forgiven, all is forgotten.
Right.
She is the legend, the icon, and we see these articles about her influence and just how much she, was a trailblazer or is a trailblazer. We start to see her getting
all these career awards and
absolutely the things she's been due.
Yeah,
she's been due.
Yeah, she's been due. And I think ever since then, it's really, and it's still now. It's people. It's like people. Well, one, the younger generation are like discovering her now and everything. And I think a lot of people in our generation and a little bit above that was around when all that didn't pay attention to her before the scandal. Like they only kind of know, like they're starting to rediscover and kind of see how influential and how important like her artistry and work and Jimmy Jam and Terry are to the lexicon of music.
Absolutely.
Well, let me say popular music today. Yeah.
And then, so outside of the award, she has a residency, more like a concert.
Well, she goes on Unbreakable tour.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, she has these things kind of going at once. And I mean, what a way to, what a story for such an iconic person and legend. I think we've seen her highs and her lows. We've seen her break glass ceilings and shatter them. But I just feel like 2015, it was just like the right time. She had been away for a while. The sound of the music also, I think, was just like a breath of fresh air because we hadn't heard so many mixtures of those sounds on one album like that for a long time from an artist. So it was like a breath of fresh air. Mm-hmm. So
I agree.
So we've been talking to y'all for quite a while because our girl, she got a lot. But we always ask this question at the end of the shows. I mean, I think we've talked about it, but truly, what is her legacy? Like, I think we've talked about it, but it's just like,
I mean, her legacy is everything we see now.
I know.
Honestly, like everything Rihanna, Beyonce, Christina,
Jennifer Lopez,
Britney, Jennifer Lopez, Usher, Justin Timberlake, even. I mean, even beyond them, Tinashe, SZA, FKA Twigs, even beyond them in the other alternative indie categories and all those people that I don't know all their names and stuff like that. But I mean, I think her legacy, you see it in all that, because not to say that those people don't have other inspirations and stuff as well. Absolutely. But you see like Janet really is that blueprint. Like she really is. And even her teaming of her, Jam and Lewis to just music, like their contribution to music period, and how the way music went after they debuted with what they did together, like it was never the same after that.
Ever the same. I don't think we've seen a more impactful, when I think about production wise and I think about like impact and opening up a lane, I think no one compares or come close. I mean, I of course I think about Babyface and what he's done, but from a songwriting perspective, but like nobody has blazed the trail quite like Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. Nobody's done that. And so you're absolutely right. People are doing studies on them. They are breaking down these albums and the concepts and just the way that they arrange things. And it's long overdue.
Long overdue. I mean, it's very interesting now. Like seeing this now. Like, it's crazy. Like I said, I told you before, I came across a YouTube video of deconstructing Jam and Lewis and Janet over 20 years, and them seeing the genius, finally starting to see the genius behind the writing, behind the vocals, behind the production, behind the visuals, like them starting to see all that and how everything was so intentional and what they were doing and all that kind of stuff. So yeah.
So I will say this, we said it with Jennifer Lopez, you know, what an inspirational story with Jennifer Lopez of like, if they tell you no, tell them hell yeah. Like
right.
She did it. But Janet, to me, and even Jam and Lewis, they are, if they don't inspire you to bet on yourself, to like, she bets on herself every single time. She doesn't follow the trend. She's not afraid to try different things. And I mean, you feel her passion and her love for music throughout the years with her projects. This isn't just something that she's releasing because she needs to meet a right. set amount of albums or whatever. She releases this music because she knows the power of music and what it can do and how it can change people. And so hats off to you, the queen mother, the legend that is Janet Jameela Jo Jackson. This has been an amazing episode.
Yes. I wish, like I said, I wish we could have dug into some other aspects, but we can't. Like, we have to just do that another time.
Yeah.
But
we will do it. So thank y'all so much for joining us. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. We know it's a long one, but thank you for rocking with us. We'll be back with you all.
If you rocked with us.
If you rock with us, you are.
Right.
Don't forget to join us for the next episodes. Don't forget to follow us on YouTube. Follow us on our Twitter page. It is at J2G Blogcast. Follow us on Twitter and get all the talks in between episodes. But thank you for joining us. We'll see y'all soon.
Yeah, thanks.
We out.